Welcome to the One Chart at a Time video series. I'm your host, Jon Schwabish. I'm founder of the website PolicyViz.com and also host of the PolicyViz podcast. And in both of those projects, my main goal is to help people improve the way they communicate their data, both through creating better graphs, charts, and diagrams, and also helping them be more effective when they stand in front of an audience and present information. I'm also author of the new book, Better Data Visualizations, a guide for scholars, researchers, and wonks. And one of my main goals in that book is to help people expand their graphic literacy. And by that I mean, most people know how to read and probably create the standard graph types like a bar chart, a line chart, a pie chart. But there are lots of other graph types out there that we can use to visualize our data. And sometimes these other or alternative graph types are inherently better at visualizing our data, and sometimes they are just more engaging. And sometimes engagement is a goal where we need to get people's attention and bring them over to our report, or get them over to read our blog, or get them into our website. And so I thought, while we're all sitting at home during this COVID pandemic in front of our computers using our video platforms, that I would ask friends in the data visualization field to help me build a video companion to the book. So over the next several weeks, what you're going to see are separate videos dedicated to individual chart types created by people all across the data visualization field, from the media sector to the public sector, the private sector, people working in nonprofits, people conducting research in data visualization, and people who are freelancers all across the world. And what I've done in this video series is to ask each of the contributors to answer three primary questions. First, can you please describe the chart type? What are things that we should know about this specific graph? Secondly, what are considerations that we should take into account when we are creating these graph types? Are there things that we should or should not do when we are creating these different graphs? And finally, can you provide us with an example of this individual graph type? Something that maybe you've created that can help us better understand this particular graph type. And so over the next several weeks, you're going to see more than 50 videos split into 8 main sections of data. And so the first set of graphs you're going to see starting tomorrow are graphs that are used to show data that are used to compare categories. So we'll start obviously with bar charts and column charts, but we're going to quickly move into dot plots and to heat maps. The second section are going to be graphs that are used to show changes over time. So again, we'll start simply with line charts and area charts, but we're also going to talk about slope charts, and we're going to talk about other graph charts that can be used to visualize your data as it changes over time. The third category are visualizations that are used to show distributions in your data. So we'll start with histograms, but we're going to quickly move into chart types like the box and whisker plot and the bee swarm chart. The fourth section are graphs that are used to show geospatial relationships. So we'll start with standard maps, but we're quickly going to move into cartograms in which the maps are going to look very different than the standard maps that you're used to seeing. The fifth section are going to be data that are used to show relationships. So again, we'll start simply with the scatter plot and the bubble chart, but we're also going to talk about the parallel coordinates plot, and we're going to talk about correlation matrices. Our next section are going to be graphs that are used to show part-to-whole relationships. We'll talk about the pie chart, we'll talk about tree maps, and we'll talk about the Voronoi diagram. And then we have two final categories that are not often a focal point in the data visualization field, but are important considerations when you have in visualizing your data. So we'll talk about graphs that are used to show qualitative data. So we'll talk about icons and words and phrases. And then finally, we'll talk about tables and how to effectively present your data in a table. Now, creating short 5 or 7 minute videos may sound simple, but there's a lot of preparation, practice that needs to go into each of these videos. And so I'm grateful to the more than 50 contributors to this series. So I hope you'll tune in tomorrow to the first video where we'll talk about bar charts in the One Chart at a Time video series. And I of course hope that you'll check out my new book, Better Data Visualizations, that is the longer companion to this video series. So come back tomorrow and we'll get started on the One Chart at a Time video series. I look forward to seeing you then.